Let the madness begin. March Madness. You can feel it in the air. It tips off tomorrow. It's Bet with Bobano, Wednesday, March 20th, Ian Cameron. And really, this is the only show that I am doing here this week to talk about the NCAA tournament. Because now on Pub Sports Radio, I'm just doing Fridays with Jimmy the Bag right now. It's kind of like the off season for me there, so we're not doing as much content with that channel. Of course, I've got the Ice Guys every day, but that's all hockey. So this is it. This is essentially my chance to dive into these games and talk NCAA tournament from a betting perspective. We will look at futures that I think are worth a look. We will look at the first round matchups on Thursday and Friday coming up over the next couple of days. So looking forward to talking NCAA tournament. Normally this show we focus on NBA. NBA's taking a fucking backseat today. No question about it. As far as the college basketball. In fact, we won't go through game by game on the NBA. I'll give out a couple of bets that I'm interested in the NBA, but for the most part, this is going to be a college basketball edition of Bet with Bobano. Unfortunately, my usual Wednesday guest, Brad Francis, is traveling right now. He's in flight on his way to his next destination. So he's flying out today. He won't be able to be on the show, but that's okay. It'll be you and I. We will get you ready here for the NCAA tournament, which is beginning tomorrow. Actually, it's already begun. It's begun based on the fact we've seen two games. I don't think either game was all that good. And of course, unfortunately, everybody had to see that Colorado State-Virginia game. But I was miserable watching that game, and I was cashing a ticket in that game, and I was miserable watching it. I was on Colorado State. I thought Virginia had no business being in the tournament, but then again, everybody else believes that as well. And it proved out that way. It was just one of the most atrocious, embarrassing, disgraceful, disgusting, horrendous performances, especially offensively, by a team that you'll see in the NCAA tournament. It was absolutely awful. It was just, you wanted to gouge your eyes out. It was that awful to watch last night, what we were seeing from Virginia. I mean, we're seeing a college basketball team that's made the NCAA tournament. They're supposed to be a halfway decent team. They're airballing free throws. They're airballing three-pointers, even mid-range jumpers. Didn't even hit the rim, some of them. And then there's other shots that barely grazing the rim. They're missing free throws left and right. What a absolutely miserable offensive team and a miserable shooting team the Virginia Cavaliers are. And man, did they put that on full display last night. And unfortunately, they put it on full display for a national TV audience and humiliated themselves, I thought, in the process. But it's not them. I mean, they are who they are, Virginia. They've been a shitty offensive team all year for the most part. It's even more embarrassing for the selection committee that put that Drek in the tournament, as far as I'm concerned. This is worse reflection, believe it or not, on those committee members that thought Virginia was a viable NCAA tournament team over Indiana State, over any of those Big East teams like St. John's and Seton Hall and Providence. Absolutely awful. Hell, you should have put maybe a VCU out of the A-10 as an at-large. It would have been better than watching Virginia last night. I mean, it was just absolutely atrocious basketball. Unfortunate. Hell, a team that didn't win their conference tournament, but was a really, really good team. Tarleton State. They should have gotten a chance to be in the tournament over Virginia, for crying out loud. So, just absolutely awful. There's not really more to say about that. You can only hope the games are going to be better moving forward than that one last night. The only good thing about that game is I cashed a ticket with Colorado State, and a rather easy one as well with Colorado State. Before we get into the NCAA tournament breakdown, this is a very good time. I don't promote myself with the service very often, but this is the time to do it, because I will tell you this right now. We've got great offers right now available at dubclub.win/r/Bobano. It's time to get on board right now. I'm telling you, we are giving you 1 month all sports discounted from $75 to $50. It's usually $75 a month for 1 month all sports. You can get it now for $50 for 1 month all sports. $50. There's sites out there that charge $300 a month for all sports, $500 a month for all sports. I'm giving it to people at $50 a month, and no one works harder. No one has more volume, and no one has more content. 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 And no one is more long-term consistent in a high-volume sports betting approach across multiple sports year-round than yours truly. And I'm not saying that to brag. I'm not saying that to pump my tires or tell everyone that I'm the best and I'm better than everyone else. I'm just telling you that no one caps the number of sports year-round that I do and with the long-term results that I do, in my opinion. Considering how I'm a very high volume bettor, I will be spraying the board with 10 to 20 bets per day in one sport. And for me I'm proud of the results. I've had more winning seasons than losing seasons. I've had some bad seasons too, of course. Nobody's immune to losing streaks. Nobody is immune to bad runs and bad seasons. But I am very proud to say that I've had more good than bad with this long term approach. The results are very solid. They allow me to pay the bills. They allow me to pay this ridiculous amount of money I have to pay every month for rent and all these other expenses, that taxes, you name it. That's the funny thing. My betting winnings, I'm telling you what, I don't see half of it. Really, or at least half of it. When you talk about travel expenses and medical expenses and food and Uber rides. I don't drive, so it's Uber rides and transportation expenses and all this other stuff, eating out and ordering food and all this, and it adds, and rent and all that. And so I have to win. I've got to do the best I can in this. So when you look at this service here that I offer, again, it's $50 a month right now. It's discounted because of March Madness. All the links are on my Twitter account with that. And very important to point out, with all sports right now, whether you get the 1 month discount from $70 to $50 US per month, there's also 3 months is 25% off, $200 down to $150 for 3 months. 6 months all sports, normally priced at $400, is down to $250. And then the 1 year all sports, $750, is down to around $562, also 25% off, which is a site-wide discount being offered at Dub Club right now. And it's a good time. It's a good time to at least try 1 month, even if you don't want to get on board for the long term, 3 months, 6 months, or 1 year. And the reason for that is because just in this next month, we've got March Madness, we've got all the college basketball tournaments, NCAA, CBI, CIT, NIT. We've got NBA, we've got NHL on a daily basis, and we've got MLB, Major League Baseball, starting next week, Thursday, March 28th. I'm staying out of the South Korea series. I already sent to my message to all my subscribers on Dub Club. I'm passing on the LA Dodgers San Diego series going on right now. My baseball season will officially begin next Thursday, March 28th, when it gets underway in North America. And for those of you that already miss football, even though it's barely been a month since the Super Bowl, I'm going to be handicapping and betting the United Football League, UFL football, which begins next Saturday, March 30th. That will also be part of your Dub Club subscription. So there are lots of sports and lots of opportunities to hopefully get us paid and make some money on the betting board over the next month alone. So again, there's the link on the screen, dubclub.win/r/Bobano. You can actually find that link as well currently on my Twitter/X profile page as well. And again, make sure on that page you look for the links that have the discounts. Okay. I don't want anybody paying full price or regular price for 1 month all sports right now. Shouldn't be paying $75 for it when you can get it for $50. You shouldn't be paying $200 for 3 months all sports when you can get less than that, 25% off. Same thing with 6 months and 1 year. So again, dubclub.win/r/Bobano. I've got over 310 subscribers now on the Dub Club page with me, and I thank them the world over. Their support, their loyalty. They're with me through the good times and the winning streaks. They're with me through the bad times and the losing streaks. And we have them. Boy, oh boy, do we have them. As far as the losing streaks go, hey, you're going to have rough patches, especially when you're high volume in every sport every day. But long term, the results are profitable, and that is the goal at the end of the day. So again, if you want to get on board, discounts for every all sports subscription option now available. dubclub.win/r/Bobano. Sides, totals, player props, futures, you name it. Everything I bet, every single thing I bet is posted on the Dub Club page for Dub Club members. So jump on board if you so choose. All right, let's talk some NCAA tournament basketball. Let's get into it. Let me start with the futures before we get into specific games for tonight, and then, of course, for Thursday and for Friday. Tonight, as far as the college or for the futures, let's start there. I think this tournament's wide open. I think every favorite to win the national championship outside of maybe UConn and Houston has some kind of significant flaw, some kind of significant weakness that may knock them out of this tournament at any given moment by a team that is very dangerous in the lower power conference ranks or the mid-major ranks. That's the way I see this tournament right now. I see it very wide open, and this is one of those years where, look, I'm kind of like Albert Pujols back in the day, in his prime, swinging for the fences here with some of these futures bets that I've made, because I have personally taken a shot with more longer shots to win, a region or to advance to the Sweet 16 and the second weekend, next weekend. I have taken more plus money shots, plus prices than I normally would, because I think outside of Houston and UConn, if you look right now at any futures board to win the national championship in this tournament, there is not a perfect team. There is a team. Every team's got some kind of weakness. Purdue, it's their guard play. That's their weakness. They're at the top of the board. Tennessee, it's probably, still their off. Actually, to me, it would be their defense. I think their offense, because they've got Dalton Connect, is a lot better this year than it's been in the past. But, I think when you look at, and it's the Rick Barnes factor, that's a weakness too, because that guy never does anything in the NCAA tournament here in the month of March. So they got to overcome that as well. If they are going to be champions here of the NCAA tournament national champions. So you look at the situation here that we've got unfolding right now as far as this tournament goes, and I think there's definitely flaws with everybody outside of UConn and Houston. Purdue, Arizona's inconsistent at times. North Carolina, do we really, 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 really trust them, to go all the way and win a championship? Creighton showed some vulnerability. Marquette, do we know if Tyler Kolek's going to be 100% healthy for them in this tournament? So that is why, from a future standpoint, I thought to myself, you know what, look, last year, what did we see? We saw Florida Atlantic and we saw San Diego State in the Final Four. Why can't that happen again? Why can't we get a Mountain West team again in the Final Four? Why can't we get a mid-major team in the Final Four this year? If any year for that to happen, why not this year when, to me, outside of Houston and UConn, every other major contender to win is vulnerable, has some kind of flaw, some kind of weakness that could hurt them in a one-game elimination scenario here in the NCAA tournament. So with that in mind, Sweet 16 futures, teams to make the Sweet 16, you can pretty much find this market everywhere. FanDuel, DraftKings, BetMGM, Bet365. A lot of these sports books have these. I'm taking some shots here. And the one that I really like is New Mexico. And I know New Mexico got all the way through the Mountain West tournament and won it. And sometimes that's a bad thing when you're trying to, win it. When you win a conference tournament, you got to regroup quickly and play in the NCAA tournament. I think they're better than Clemson. I just do. And I think they're going to beat Clemson. And I think in the second round, they're going to be able to beat whoever comes out of the other game in their bracket. And they're getting plus 275 to make the Sweet 16. And I love the way the Lobos played down the stretch. I love the guard play with House, with Mashburn. I absolutely love what I am seeing here right now as far as their guard play. And I think they're very, very dangerous, and very, very good chance that we could see them next weekend in the Sweet 16, Richard Pitino's team, the Lobos. Drake at plus 650. It pains me to actually kind of think they beat Washington State, because I've liked Washington State a lot this year. Kyle Smith, great coach. They got some good size down low. They've got a good defensive team. But this Drake Bulldogs team, I think, with the experience factor, with Tucker DeVries, who is a guy that can win a game by himself in the NCAA, can dominate a game down the stretch of a close game, and the fact that last year they played Miami and they had that huge lead and they blew it. I think a lot of those seniors and a lot of that team is back this year. They're going to remember that, and it's going to fuel their efforts here. So Drake, to me, a dangerous team, plus 650 to make it to the Sweet 16. Grand Canyon, James Madison, McNeese State. I know they are Unfortunately, I think they're going to be popular underdogs on Thursday and Friday, but I do think they've got real potential to play next weekend in the Sweet 16. All three of them. Grand Canyon's got Tyon Grant Foster, an NBA talent on that team, well coached by Bryce Drew. They're very athletic, play very good defensively. Grand Canyon, now, they've been a little suspect away from their strong home court, but I was willing to look past that given the fact you're getting a good price, plus 650 on them to win the Sweet 16. James Madison, same thing, very dangerous. We saw them beat Michigan State early in the season. I definitely think, they're a team that's going to be very dangerous. McNeese State, A&M, Buzz Williams, this is sometimes what he can do. He gets red hot down the stretch and he propels it into March. Kansas is very vulnerable, as we know, because Kevin McCullough's been ruled out. We don't know how healthy Hunter Dickinson's going to be. They have to play Samford. If Samford wins that game against Kansas, which they very well might now with the Kansas injury situation, plus Kansas didn't play well down the stretch either. It's just a boatload of issues. It's a very winnable game for the Samford Bulldogs out of the SoCon in that first game. If they advance to and beat Kansas, all of a sudden, here I am with plus 1150, almost 12-1 on Samford to get to the Sweet 16. And all they would have to do is win one more game after that, after beating Kansas, assuming they do. So I thought there was tremendous value there. Colorado State, which won their first 4 game last night against Virginia, I took a little shot on them, plus 1,200, 12-1 to get to the Sweet 16. 3 very long shots. UAB 25-1. They've got a tough matchup with San Diego State, but I think a very winnable matchup. I like Andy Kennedy. He's had some success in the tournament before with Marshall Henderson. That's his name. Marshall Henderson, way back like a decade ago with Ole Miss. Andy Kennedy coached that team. And so UAB 25-1. Oakland 30-1, because I think they've at least got a puncher's chance to knock off Kentucky. And yes, I did sprint this one. This one's a little more. This one's definitely a reach, Sweet 16. But we did see them get to the Sweet 16 a couple of years ago. St. Peter's 80-1. And guess who they play in the first round? Oh, yeah, that guy that never wins anything in March, Rick Barnes and Tennessee. Now, I know the matchup on paper is worrisome because St. Peter's, this is not their best offensive team this year, not even by a long shot. That St. Peter's could struggle to score and put the ball in the basket in the game against Tennessee. But we've seen Tennessee spit the bit in this tournament enough that if St. Peter's somehow could pull off a shocker and beat Tennessee in their first round game, and all of a sudden I've got hedging options galore, and I've got an 80-1 with just one win after that needed for St. Peter's to get to the Sweet 16. So I thought at that price it was worth a look for sure. Don, great show. You're a Dub Club member, Don. I appreciate that. I really do appreciate that. Thank you for subscribing, being a member. I will be posting my Wednesday Dub Club college basketball, NBA, and NHL as soon as this show's over. So hold tight. It will be posted very shortly for NCAA basketball, NBA basketball, and NHL for this Wednesday slate. But appreciate your support, your membership at Dub Club. Appreciate it very much, Don. Thank you very much. So those are the futures looks for the Sweet 16. Regional winners, which is basically teams to make the Final Four, win their region. UConn plus 110, I had to bet it because I look, even though they got saddled in the group of death, that East region, it is not going to be a cakewalk for UConn. They put multiple conference tournament winners in that same region with them, but they are just dominant. They are complete. I don't know if they finish the deal and win another national championship, because winning back-to-back national titles, even for a team like UConn that's very capable of doing it, is extremely difficult. But if any team's going to do it, they could. Where's the weakness there? Offensively, defensively, they got size, they have rebounding, they defend. They've got some degree of depth as well. It's just a very, very good, well-rounded, complete team, UConn. So even though the price is only plus 110 to win the East region, I felt I had to have that as part of the portfolio. The team I could see them being a threat to UConn in the East is Iowa State. I've really liked this Iowa State team all year. TJ Otzelberger's done a nice job. They've got guard play. They got a little size. They defend. They are they're an upper echelon defensive team in the entire country. Plus 450 on Iowa State to win the East region and get to the Final Four. UConn's going to be their biggest obstacle. They've got to somehow get past UConn, Iowa State. But, and what I've liked about Iowa State this year is for years past, we've seen them feast on that strong home court, Hilton Coliseum, Hilton Magic. That's where they've done a lot of their damage. But this year, this Iowa State team has really, really improved with their play away from home. Like their play on the road has gotten a lot better this year for the Iowa State Cyclones. So I think when you look at this team right now going into this tournament, they could definitely be a threat to UConn as far as coming out of the East is concerned. The only other shot, because I don't want to take too many shots in a loaded East region with long shots, because I think UConn and Iowa State by far are the two best chances to win this region for sure. But the one that also stuck out to me a little bit in the East is Drake, at 55-1. Drake is a very experienced team. Like I said, with Tucker DeVries, who is a player that can absolutely dominate and take over a game and make big shots late in a close game. So I thought Drake 55-1, small shot there for the East. For the Midwest, Creighton plus 500. Creighton's capable of winning that region. Creighton's a very good team. They did show some inconsistency, but they got Kalkbrenner, they've got Tyshawn Alexander, they've got guard play. They're capable of the key is going to be, can they defend a little more consistently? But they're a very talented group, plus 500 on Creighton in the Midwest. Texas 25-1. Talent-wise, when you got a Max Asmus, the transfer from Oral Roberts on this team, who's carried a team in the tournament in the past, of course, that being Oral Roberts to multiple victories, that's still scary for Texas. And they've got the talent there, in my opinion, Mitchell, and they've got Max Asmus, and they can defend a little bit. I worry about Rodney Terry. To me, he's not my favorite coach by any stretch of the imagination, but Texas, I thought at 25-1, not a bad option. I took both South Carolina and Oregon small shots at 40 and 50-1 to win the Midwest because they're playing each other. Whoever wins that game, South Carolina versus Oregon in the first round, whoever wins that game, I think they could get, believe it or not, to the Final Four, because Dana Altman's done this before. He's taken a team on a run. South Carolina has a win on the road at Tennessee on their resume, and Lamont Paris is a heck of a coach. And, if I'm going to take longer shots with teams that on paper don't measure up, I want good coaching. I want coaches, I think, that are so good they can get the job done and get every ounce of ability and performance out of their teams. And nothing resembles that more to me than Lamont Paris and Dana Altman. These two coaches this year have done an outstanding job and gotten the absolute utmost from each of these teams. So from that reason alone, I think, 40-1, 50-1 on South Carolina, Oregon in the Midwest, worth a shot. McNeese State, 80-1. Colorado State, 80-1. Little 200-1 on Samford, but we're getting maybe a little bit, pushing the envelope maybe a little too much with that, but it is March, and crazier things have happened. In the South region, Houston, plus 140. They should win this region. They're obviously an absolutely outstanding team, looking to get back to a Final Four. Florida, 15-1, I think could be a bigger threat to Houston in that region. A&M with Buzz Williams took a smaller shot, 40-1, and JMU, James Madison, 80-1. And then in the West region, look, Arizona plus 260. I did bet them to win the West region, but I want to caution everybody. They could win the West region and they could lose to Long Beach. No joke. They could actually lose to Long Beach, and I wouldn't be totally shocked in that first game, because Long Beach has caught fire. They've rallied around their coach, Dan Monson, who got fired. And then, of course, they go on and they win the Big West tournament and cash the auto bid to the NCAA tournament. But I think Arizona, they've had some heartbreak. They've had some early exits, including last year. Maybe they're ready to learn from it. And I think they're better off without, the guy that was the point guard last year, Kirk Risa, on the team. I think they're better at that spot, although Caleb Love could be a little bit of an enigma. They've got Pele Larson. They've got Ballo, size down low. I think Tommy Lloyd's pretty good coach, great recruiter here at this Arizona team. So, I did think maybe they're ready for a breakthrough after some heartbreak, plus 260. And then in the West, I've got New Mexico and Grand Canyon for smaller long shots to win the region. New Mexico 25-1 and Grand Canyon 75-1. to win the West region. And then the national championship futures, the main ones are Houston. The main one is Houston. I didn't bet UConn. I don't bet the favorite. UConn could repeat, but I think it's very difficult. Houston, I did grab plus 600. Arizona 14-1. Iowa's. I'm not going to name them all. If you want to see the whole list, make sure you subscribe at Dub Club. But I'll name the top 3 national championship futures I have. Houston 600, Arizona 14-1, Iowa State 22-1, and then I'll give you a little bit of a longer shot that I think could make a run. I'll give you 2. I'll give you Florida 65-1, and I'll give you, because we saw a Mountain West team in the Final Four last year. Last year it was San Diego State. I think this year it could be New Mexico. You've got to have guard play and good guard play if you're going to win in March. New Mexico's got it. 125-1 for New Mexico to win the national championship here. I like it quite a bit. I agree with the comment there, Donnie. Florida defense is their issue. You got to hope it shores itself up. But Florida at 65-1 to win the national title. We did grab a little of that. But those are the main futures for me for the NCAA tournament. Let's get into specific games. Just briefly on the first 4 tonight. I like Montana State to win, but I'm not comfortable on a neutral court laying now, 4.5, 5. Just not comfortable. I'd lean to the over because I think if Montana State's going to win and cover, they're going to get their preferred pace. So I would lean over the total in that game. Like I say, Montana State, I think they're just better. I think the Big Sky is better than the SWAC. Let's be honest. The SWAC and the MEAC teams, they have a very difficult time when they play non-conference opponents. We saw it last night. The team out of the MEAC, Howard, they ended up losing as favorites to Wagner in the first 4. These teams just aren't on the same level athletically, as some teams from these other conferences. So I just think the Big Sky, is a little bit better conference than the SWAC. So, and I do think Montana State from that Big Sky conference is the better team in this game as well. So, but I'm just not comfortable laying 4.5. Colorado and Boise State. The money's coming in on Colorado. I'm going to go against it. I have not bet it yet because I know the money's going to rush in here on the Buffaloes. Tad Boyle, they played great down the stretch. Run to the Pac-12 tournament championship game before they lost to Oregon. Lots to like. Again, this team that can score inside and outside. They got some size. They can rebound. Defensively, it's gotten better. I think defensively earlier in the season, they struggled a bit. And, Boise State and Leon Rice, for as much as they've had a great season, they've had some issues when they've been in the NCAA tournament. They have not had a lot of NCAA tournament success, Boise State, but I believe in the Mountain West Conference. I thought they were horrendously underseeded. Every team in that conference was just underseeded in a horrendous fashion by the committee. I will just sit back, wait, and then this game starts at 9 p.m. Eastern tonight. I will take all the points I can get with Boise here in this game. You can get actually 3.5, plus 3.5 with Boise right now at DraftKings. So you can get a pretty good number there with Boise State in this game. I would agree with the move up in the total as far as the over. I always gravitate to overs anyway, but the overs have treated me well, quite honestly, in a lot of these tournaments games. I mean, it's been pretty remarkable. The success I've had, picking which games to go over and especially which games to put more money on the over. So this one, I agree with the move up on the total, 141.5 to 143, 144. But from a side perspective, look, I know there's a lot of love for Colorado, and if they win, it wouldn't shock me. But I definitely think there's a little value in this number now on Boise that you can get 3.5 with them in that game. All right, so that's the first 4 tonight. Let's get to Thursday and Friday, and then we'll do a quick, I'll give you an NBA bet that I like, and we'll wrap this thing up because I got more work to do. Let's go to Thursday. Just rapid fire here. And we'll go with just an rotation number order. It's not in order of start time. So Wagner, North Carolina. I mean, North Carolina should roll, but I'm not going to lay 25. So that's going to be a pass for me. Look, I'm going to take St. Peter's plus 21.5 tomorrow against Tennessee. I don't trust Tennessee. I still don't. I mean, their defense could suffocate St. Peter's. If they are on defensively, the Vols, I totally understand, or they could totally suffocate and strangle the St. Peter's offense, because I don't think the Peacocks offensively this year are as good as the team that made that run in the tournament 2 years ago. So I fully get that. But this guy has not done a thing in March. He's laying a huge number here, 21.5. Now, you could look at it two ways. One way is the Mississippi State blowout loss in the SEC tournament refocuses this team, gets their attention, and they put the boots to St. Peter's, and it's 40 minutes of, relentless effort from Tennessee. Or maybe that's a weakness and a sign that, hey, maybe their confidence is fragile a little bit. That not only did we lose in the SEC tournament and get knocked out in the, what was it, the quarterfinals by Mississippi State, we got destroyed. They weren't even in the game. I mean, Mississippi State blew them out wire to wire. It wasn't even a contest. So you could look at it that maybe their confidence is shook. But either way, I don't trust this team laying that many points. Obviously, they can and probably should win the game, but 21 and a half. And St. Peter's is going to slow this pace down, grind it out in the half court. There's going to have to be a high degree of offensive execution to cover a number like that. I don't care who they're playing. So I don't trust them fully yet, Tennessee laying that kind of a number. Michigan State, Mississippi State, I don't think I can make a case for either side here. I don't think Michigan State belongs in the tournament, but Tom Izzo and March can sometimes get on a run. And I've seen enough inconsistency in Chris Jans and Mississippi State over the season that I'm not overly comfortable and confident with them either. So that might be a game I stay off. Colorado State, Texas. I'm going to be back on Colorado State again. I like them to be a bit of a sleeper here, bit of a dark horse, maybe get to the Sweet 16. You're going to get 2.5, 3 points with them. And oftentimes we see the team that wins in the first four carry that momentum forward to Thursday, Friday, and they win that first round game too. So, I'll be looking at Colorado State again. The Mountain West, I'm high on the Mountain West this year. I don't think there's going to be that same old Mountain West where the teams get into the tournament and they get crushed. I don't think so this year. I think these are legitimately solid squads, all of them this year, including Colorado State. Now, it's going to be tougher here because unlike Virginia, Texas could actually make some free throws and some shots and some field goals. So this will be tougher. But like I said, I think Colorado State's still capable of getting it done. NC State, Texas Tech. I could only look at the laying the points with Texas Tech. I like Grant McCaslin. This team's been erratic. I like Pop Isaacs. He's a very good player for Texas Tech, but too much the supporting cast has let him down and let this team down. But more than anything, I don't know if NC State can, they just ran themselves through the gauntlet last week to get into the NCAA tournament, winning 5 games in 5 days, win the ACC championship to get in the NCAA tournament. And now they got to turn around, play on a Thursday. Will they be able to have that same gusto? And do they lose their rhythm a little bit? And now you're sitting since Saturday, and all of a sudden that huge rhythm that they all played with to get into the tournament, I'm worried about that. And oftentimes we see these heroic runs through the conference tournament that result in a conference tournament championship. Sometimes it means you're vulnerable in that first tournament game. So I would probably only look at the Red Raiders there in that game. I like the over with Oakland and Kentucky. I mean, it's a high number, 163, but I still think you can get over that number. And I'm going to take the Oakland Golden Grizzlies here with Greg Kampe. I'm going to dare Kentucky's defense to be good enough against a very good shooting team. They've got multiple guys that can stretch out and hit three-pointers for Oakland against a team that's struggled defensively with consistency all year. Yeah, I mean, that's not a team I'm rushing to lay 14 with if I'm Kentucky. So I think Oakland can make that a competitive game. Oregon, South Carolina, as far as that game goes, really tough game. I think I would be interested in backing whoever wins that game on Saturday or Sunday, but I really like both teams. I really like both coaches. I think it's very difficult to choose there. I think I'd have to lean a little maybe to Oregon because of Dana Altman getting his teams to the tournament. And then usually when Dana Altman gets Oregon into the tournament, they don't go home in the first game. They usually win a game or two at least. So for that reason, I would lean a little bit to Oregon. Akron-Creighton's a good game. I don't have anything strong on it because I really think Creighton could make a run, but I don't know if I'm ready to lay 12.5 with them against a pretty solid MAC foe in Akron. Duquesne, BYU, a little bit of a concern here, just like we talked about with NC State and some of these other teams here, where Duquesne makes the run all the way to the A-10 tournament, wins the championship, gets the bid. Now they got to turn around, play Thursday down in Omaha, Nebraska. Tough spot. But I don't trust BYU defensively enough just yet to lay 9.5. So I've still got to do some thinking on that game. Morehead State, Illinois. Illinois, I think if they get they should get past Morehead State, but this could be a little bit more difficult game. And again, we're talking about a big conference tournament champion, Illinois, playing all the way through to Sunday, winning the Big Ten championship against Wisconsin. A little bit of a tough turnaround. I wouldn't be looking to lay. I like Illinois. I think they could make a run, but in this spot, I don't want to lay 12 with them. Let's put it that way. Drake and Washington State. I really like both teams. I really do, but I'd lean Drake. I just think last year's heartbreak fuels them for as great a year as Washington State's had. Let's see how they do it with the bright lights and the tournament spotlight. There's a very experienced Drake team with a guy that can take over a close game late that I mentioned earlier, Tucker DeVries. So I would probably have to lean Drake here, even though I like Washington State a lot as a team, and it wouldn't shock me if they win that game. South Dakota State, Iowa State. It's one of those deals where I think Iowa State can win the region and be in the Final Four, maybe even win the national championship. But I'd still be tempted to take 16 in this spot with South Dakota State. TJ Otzelberger's former team, he used to coach South Dakota State. Now, of course, he's at Iowa State where he's done a great job. Very good defensive team. So I would lean South Dakota State there. A little bit of a angle there with the Otzelberger against his old team. McNeese State, Gonzaga. I just don't think this has been the same Gonzaga team this year. And I know they played better down the stretch, a lot better. No question about that. After a bad non-conference season and inconsistency earlier on, but I'm still going to look at McNeese here with Will Wade's group. I mean, this is a group that has a lot of really, really upper echelon talent, more than you would expect from the conference they play in, the Southland. And I think they're going to be dangerous here for Gonzaga. Samford, Kansas, you already know I think Samford can win this game. I'm already on them plus the points. The over makes sense to me as well in this game. Total's already been bet up, but I think Kansas is vulnerable, and even more vulnerable now that we know Kevin McCullough's not going to play in this tournament for the Jayhawks. So, like I say, it would be the dog and the over there. Nevada, Dayton. I think Nevada should beat and can beat Dayton, but the last few years, Steve Alford's had a really rough time in the tournament. His results have not been good, the last few years. So I'm leaning Nevada, but I'm kind of gun shy about that. I just didn't love what I saw to Dayton late in the season. Dayton kind of peaked. Dayton played well in October, November, December. That's when Dayton was really playing good. Early January as well. Once we got into February and then into March, Dayton was starting to lose games, and even a few games they shouldn't have lost. So I'm worried with Dayton that the Flyers peaked a little too early this season. They're not playing their best basketball now here on March 20th as we enter the tournament. So I still lean Nevada, but that Alford track record in the tournament kind of concerns me a little bit. Long Beach State, Arizona. I like a lot of points here. I certainly like the over. I mean, both teams are going to run and gun. That's a lot of points. And like I said, I think Arizona could win the whole thing and win their region and go a long way, but we're talking 20.5 points. 20.5 points. That's a lot of points to be giving a team on a neutral court in an NCAA tournament game. And Long Beach captured some momentum and rallied around Dan Monson down the stretch. I could see maybe them staying inside the number. I don't think they're going to win the game, but 20.5, probably have to lean to taking the points. Stetson, UConn. I mean, I'm not stepping in front of UConn. I mean, this could be ugly. UConn is very capable. If they're even focused a little bit on the prize here and Stetson and not looking forward to their next game, they can win this game by 30. Stetson would not be a live dog, in my opinion, on the first round slate. Vermont, Duke. I'm very disappointed that Duke got pitted with Vermont because I actually kind of want to fade Duke. I don't trust Duke. I still don't. I really still don't trust Duke fully. And I definitely don't want to lay 12 with them. But I have been burned by Vermont before. And we know Vermont makes the tournament pretty much every year out of the America East. And I kind of talked myself into taking the Catamounts plus the points against a Power 5 team. And there's been some years where they've been absolutely crushed by their Power 5 opponent. And so for that reason, I'm not rushing to take Vermont in this game either. So right now, I'd probably a neutral opinion for me in that Vermont-Duke game. James Madison, Wisconsin. I do think James Madison's live here. I know Wisconsin with Chucky Hepburn and Tyler Wall, and they made a nice little run there in the Big Ten tournament, getting to the championship game. This James Madison squad is legit. They got guards. They've got size. They got defense. They got rebounding. They got shooting. They're a good free throw shooting team. They already beat a Big Ten team early in the season on the road when they beat Michigan State very early in the season. So James Madison's live there, in my opinion. Northwestern, Florida Atlantic. I believe Northwestern, I would lean that way. They do have some injuries. Obviously, the Barry, the guard, but they still have Boo Buie. And maybe Florida Atlantic was just playing possum with everybody, going through the motions much of the season, and now they're ready to flip a switch here in the NCAA tournament. But I got to see it before I believe it, because this Florida Atlantic team looked like a shell all season long of the team that got to the Final Four last year for Dusty May. Their defense was non-existent much of the season. So I'd have to lean Northwestern there a little bit, plus 2.5. Not convinced this is the same FAU team. And then what else have we got? Purdue is waiting for their opponent from Wednesday's games. Western Kentucky, Marquette. I think that game could go over the total if Kolek plays. Kolek is a difference maker for Marquette totals. When he doesn't play, we've seen a lot more unders with Marquette. But when he does play, it just makes the whole offense flow. So if he does play here for Marquette, I might look at an over. Western Kentucky is definitely an over team. They play fast. They're a very good offensive team, but they are kind of lax defensively. And if you look at their schedule, when they've played pretty good teams and offenses, they've struggled defensively. So if Kolek plays, I might look toward over in that Western Kentucky Marquette game. TCU, Utah State. I mean, I'm leaning Utah State. Again, I'm higher on the Mountain West than a lot of people, and TCU's a good team, and Jamie Dixon's capable as well from a coaching standpoint, but don't fall asleep on Danny Sprinkle. What a job he's done his first year at Utah State, showing why he got the job after he spent time at Montana State. He's done a great job in his first year there with Utah State. I'm still leaning Utah State there, the Aggies, as an underdog against TCU. Longwood, Houston. I mean, Houston should win, probably should cover, even though there were some blips on the radar. But I think the fact that Houston got absolutely smacked down by Iowa State in the Big 12 championship game, it probably means that they are going to be ready and maybe out for blood against Longwood. So it may be a tough day for the Lancers in that game out of the Big South Conference as they take on Houston. Colgate, Baylor. This is another one where Colgate, they've had a couple years where they've hung tough and they've covered some numbers, and then they've had some years where they've been destroyed in some of these games against a team like Baylor. So a lot of variance with their recent results. I think the over might be in play here. 138.5. I think Baylor can score on Colgate defensively. I think Colgate is a little bit better offensively than defensively. Actually, this has not been the best Colgate offensive team for Matt Langiel, who's done a great job coaching this program, coaching them again to another NCAA tournament. But down the stretch, they did play better offensively than they did earlier on. So I might look at an over there with Colgate, Baylor. You already know I like New Mexico to beat Clemson. I think they're better. The 11 seed is not favored. There's a reason New Mexico is favored in that game against the Clemson Tigers, even though they're the lower seed. I agree with it fully. I think they get the job done. I don't believe in Brad Brownell. You could make a case that Clemson sputtered down the stretch big time. And I looked up a stat that when an 11 seed is favored over a 6 seed, the 11 seed is 10-1 straight up in those games. 11 times an 11 seed has been favored over a 6 seed in a first-round game, and the 11 seed is 10-1. So it tells you all you need to know. I think New Mexico is a rightful favorite in that game, and they get the job done. A&M, Nebraska, as far as that game goes, not much there for me. Although I'd lean A&M. I like Buzz at this time of year. I lean over, too. The over might be the best look. I think both teams can score. You look at A&M and what they can get potentially with their team offensively, which played great again down the stretch. Remember that team, when they were struggling, the offense was struggling along with it. But then Wade Taylor, the fourth, comes to life, and bam, they just explode on the offensive side of the end of the court down the stretch. So the over might be the best approach there with Texas A&M and Nebraska. Yale, Auburn, over again, I would lean. Auburn probably can put up a big number on Yale. Yale, just from an athletic standpoint, I don't know if they'll be able to hang with Auburn for 40 minutes. I think if you like Yale, take them in the first half, because I could actually see them maybe getting worn down a bit in the second half. Charleston and Alabama, they can't make that total high enough. Over or pass. UAB and San Diego State. I think UAB could be dangerous here for San Diego State. The concerns for San Diego State are, A, away from home, they were average. B, they're struggling to shoot again, other than Ledee. Ledee is outstanding. but not enough support too many times for San Diego State. Not enough support from the other guys. And UAB played their best down the stretch, and Andy Kennedy's had success in the NCAA tournament in the past. So I think UAB can hang around in that game. And then, look, it's unfortunate they're playing against each other because they're both teams that could make a run. But Grand Canyon and St. Mary's, it should be a really good game. St. Mary's, man, they can win and cover because their defense could really make life tough on Grand Canyon. But Grand Canyon is more athletic. They've got the best player on the court, and Tyan Grant Foster, who's going to be an NBA prospect. They're getting 5.5. They've had some disappointments in the tournament in the past, but I think they are ready to put a better foot forward, and I lean to them to not only cover, but maybe even win outright there for sure. Grand Canyon against St. Mary's. Like I said, though, that's going to be a really good game. I'm looking forward. Of all the first-round games, that one's right up there. St. Mary's, Grand Canyon, a Friday night is the games I'm most looking forward to seeing, no doubt. All right, so that's the NCAA tournament. Let's give you a best bet from the NBA on the Wednesday slate before we wrap up the show. I'm just looking at the card right now. Let's go with I'm going to go with the total, and I'm going to go with the game between the Kings and the Raptors. The Raptors defensively, to say it's bad would be an understatement right now. It's really, really bad at the defensive end of the basketball court right now for the Toronto Raptors. I'm not sure it's going to get much better here tonight against Sacramento. The total is 232.5, 233. I would go with that. Let's go Sacramento, Toronto over 232.5 here for my best bet for this Wednesday NBA card. There you have it. That's this edition of Bet with Bobano, mostly an NCAA tournament-centric show. One last time before the show wraps up, dubclub.win/r/Bobano. We have 1 month all sports discounted from $75 to $50 US. 25% off the longer term subscription offerings as well. 25% off for 3 months all sports. 25% off for 6 months all sports. 25% off for 1 year all sports. Normal 1 year all sports price is $750. It's down to $562 for 1 year all sports with the 25% offer. So again, get involved year round. NFL, college football, CFL, UFL, which starts next week for all you football fans and bettors. We got football again back in our life to bet. NHL, NBA, college basketball, MLB starting next week, a little UFC as well. That is what you get year round with the all sports subscription at Dub Club. So get on board now. Great time of year to do it. There's the URL on the screen, dubclub.win/r/Bobano. All right. Thanks for joining in on another edition of Bet with Bobano. Hit the like button on the way out. Enjoy the NCAA tournament. Enjoy the games and good luck. Have a great Wednesday night. Bet like Tony Soprano. Bet with Bobano. And we'll see you again next week for another edition of Bet with Bobano.